Walk into OpenAI headquarters right now, and you aren't going to see a room full of engineers furiously typing away at their keyboards. Nope. What's actually happening is an engineer writes a simple to-do list, hands that list over to an autonomous AI agent, and literally walks away to grab a coffee. They aren't asking the AI for a little snippet of code. They're handing over the entire task. So if artificial intelligence can already do the daily jobs of the exact software engineers who are building it, we really have to stop and ask, what does that mean for the rest of us?
And look, this isn't some far-off science fiction scenario or a flashy concept video of what might happen in 10 years. You probably saw that massive Super Bowl ad recently, where companies showed off a full product launch with 0 human coders involved. That's a real tool making autonomous decisions right this very second. We're talking about OpenAI's Codex. It basically lives in a virtual computer in the cloud. You give it a task, and it just goes to work. It writes features, fixes bugs, runs tests, all until it gets a passing result. Tasks that would normally take a human professional hours or even days of heavy concentration are just being handled autonomously.
So what actually happens when the software does the work for you? When it flips from being a tool you use to a digital employee that works right alongside you, or, let's be real, instead of you. Welcome to AtomNationHQ. In today's explainer, we're stripping away all the hype. We're looking at the hard economic data and the historical proof of exactly how agentic AI is about to permanently change the way you earn a living. Turn off the lights, lock in, and let's get to work. Section 1, meet your digital colleague. Okay, let's dive into this because the speed of evolution here is staggering. Back in May 2025, Codex was just a research preview. It was a sandboxed agent mostly for software engineers. But by February 2026, OpenAI dropped GPT 5.3 Codex. Boom. It suddenly went from this isolated coding tool to a full-on desktop agent that can do pretty much anything a professional does on a computer. And then, just days later, they announced Spark, a lightweight, blazing fast version built for real-time collaboration. We're already seeing this technology natively integrated into platforms like Apple's Xcode. It went from a neat toy to a terrifyingly competent coworker in less time than it takes a big corporation to approve a new logo. And if you think this is just some clever software trick, take a look at the hardware driving it. To make Codex Spark work with almost 0 lag, OpenAI partnered with Cerebras to use their wafer-scale engine 3-chip. Guys, this single chip has 4 trillion transistors. 4 trillion. That massive number is proof that this is a permanent hardware shift. Tech giants are pouring billions of dollars into the physical infrastructure required to give these digital workers the computing power they need to think and act instantly. We're witnessing the industrial revolution of cognitive labor. Let's move on to Section 2, the hard economic data. Goldman Sachs economists recently analyzed the tasks involved in over 900 different occupations. Their conclusion? 300 million full-time jobs globally are exposed to AI automation. To put that into perspective, that's essentially the entire population of the United States. Now, exposed doesn't automatically mean eliminated, but it does mean that a quarter to a half of the daily workload in those 300 million jobs can now be handed over to a machine. If you work in an office, if you manage data, write reports, or coordinate projects, parts of your job are sitting inside that 300 million figure right now. The International Monetary Fund brings this massive global number right down to the individual worker. They've found that in advanced economies, 60% of jobs will be impacted by AI. Seriously, think about your office, or look at the grid on your next virtual meeting. 6 out of every 10 people you see are in roles that are about to be fundamentally altered. For about half of those folks, AI is going to make them incredibly productive. But for the other half, the AI will execute their key tasks, which the IMF bluntly warns could lead to lower wages, reduced hiring, and in extreme cases, those jobs just disappearing completely. And the capital is flowing specifically to make this a reality. Masayoshi Son, CEO of SoftBank, recently sat down with OpenAI's Sam Altman and pledged to spend $3 billion a year on a platform aimed directly at automating millions of traditional white-collar workflows. They aren't trying to build a cuter chatbot here. They're explicitly funding the automation of the corporate office. The goal is to build an invisible infrastructure that handles the routine tasks human beings currently wake up and do every single day. Which brings us to a really fascinating conversation that happened at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Sam Altman talked about this running betting pool among tech CEOs. What are they betting on? When we're going to see the very first one-person billion-dollar company. Imagine a single individual, armed with an army of AI agents like Codex, scaling a business to unicorn status without hiring a single human employee. Altman said it would have been unimaginable without AI, and now it will happen. We're talking about massive value creation completely decoupled from human headcount. Which brings us to Section 3, History's Automation Lessons. To understand where we're going, we have to look at the past. Back in the 1970s and 80s, a company called Wang Laboratories built a $3 billion empire with 33,000 employees. Their main product? Dedicated word processing machines. At the time, large offices had entire departments called secretarial pools or typing pools. Literally dozens of people whose only job all day was to type and copy documents. Wang absolutely dominated this space. But then, the personal computer arrived with software like Microsoft Word. The PC didn't just compete with Wang, it eliminated the entire concept of the typing pool. Once everyone had a word processor on their own desk, the specialized typing job vanished entirely, taking Wang's massive empire down with it. But here's the thing, automation can be incredibly tricky to predict. When the automated teller machine rolled out in the 1970s, everyone assumed bank tellers were doomed. I mean, why pay a human when a machine can just hand out cash, right? But if you look at the data over a 40-year period, as ATMs went from 1,000 units to over 400,000, teller employment actually grew from 300,000 to 560,000. It seems to completely defy logic.
But here is the twist. The ATM took over the routine cash handling, which meant a bank needed fewer tellers per branch. Because branches became way cheaper to operate, banks started opening vastly more branches to capture market share. And more branches meant they actually needed more tellers overall. But the job itself changed. Tellers weren't just counting cash anymore. They became relationship bankers, selling credit cards and processing complex loans. The technology actually made them more valuable.
The story doesn't end there, though. The real job killer for bank tellers was never the ATM. It was the iPhone. Starting around 2010, mobile banking took off. Suddenly, you didn't need to visit a physical branch to deposit a check or transfer money. You just took a quick picture of it on your phone. Without that foot traffic, the physical branch became completely unnecessary. And as those branches closed, teller employment plummeted from a peak of around 560,000 down to roughly 164,000 by 2022. So the crucial point is this automation pattern. Phase 1 technology changes the job and makes the service cheaper. But the next wave eliminates the role entirely by removing the need for the physical location or the underlying process. Right now, AI agents like Codex are our word processor moment. They are fundamentally changing the workflow of the corporate office. First, they're going to make us incredibly fast. Then they will eliminate the need for entirely specific roles altogether. Let's look ahead to Section 4, the future of work. Remember that Goldman Sachs report we talked about? The one warning about 300 million jobs being exposed? Well, they also projected that this exact same technology could drive a 7% increase in global GDP over a 10-year period. Guys, that is almost $7 trillion in immense wealth creation. Generative AI is going to streamline workflows, accelerate drug discovery, and create software faster than ever before. We're already seeing the groundwork for this, with giants like Microsoft quietly embedding agentic AI directly into the Office 365 apps you use every single day. Jobs are quietly disappearing, yes, but there is massive economic growth on the horizon for those who figure out how to leverage these tools.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the human adaptability factor. A massive economic study by David Otter proved that 60% of the jobs people do today literally did not exist in 1940. Think about that. New technology historically destroys old jobs, sure, but it guarantees the creation of entirely new ones. The workforce adapts, evolves, and finds new ways to provide value. If we step back from the immediate panic and disruption, we can see a clear, historical pattern of human reinvention.
Just think about it. The invention of the iPhone didn't just kill bank teller jobs. It created Uber, Airbnb, and the entire app economy. Similarly, AI is going to create companies and roles we aren't even thinking about yet. We're going to see a huge demand for people who manage AI agents, who design custom autonomous workflows, and who build entirely new trillion-dollar industries from the ground up. In the near future, you won't just be an employee. You'll be the manager of a highly capable digital team. This shift isn't coming, it's already happening, right on your desktop. So I want to turn it over to you. Be completely honest. Which part of your daily job could an AI agent like Codex already do for you today? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this explainer helped you see the future of work a little more clearly, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update from AtomNationHQ. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next one.